Hello everyone, today I am going to give you a brief introduction to C language. In this video, we are going to learn about language, history of C, our first C program, variables, some input-output function. So let's begin. First of all, let's know what's a language. Language is a medium to communicate generally between human and human. But in case of programming languages, it is a communication between human and computer. As you all know, both these speak different languages. Humans use English language, whereas computers understand binary language. So, on this basis, there are two types of languages. Low-level language, which is also called the machine language, and the high-level language, which is human understandable. This is high-level language is English and the low-level language is binary language. Binary language consists of 0 and 1. So our code is written in high-level language as human can understand only high-level language. But it is our requirement to convert this code into the binary language because the computer is going to process our output. Hence, the computer should understand our language. For that, the English must be converted to binary language. For this, a translator was required. And this translator was developed as compiler. So, compiler is a special software which converts this high-level language, that is English, to low-level language, that is binary. So the first function is to convert high-level language to low-level language. Now, as you must have observed, in low-level language, one can learn it by knowing the number of alphabets and all. This is a word written in binary language, and in English, it will be written like that. If I do any mistakes, like if I remove this letter, so in English you can actually find the error, but in case of the binary language you cannot rectify that whether the word is correct or not, which means debugging is difficult. Debugging is a process of finding errors. And this process is executed by compiler, which means compiler also finds error in our code. Like if we have written any code and any word, any semicolon, etc. is missing, then compiler will give you an error and you can then correct your code and then execute it. Which means compiler has two functions, conversion between high level to low level and second, finding errors. Now coming to the history of C language, C was developed by Dennis Ritchie. In Bell Laboratories. Bell Labs, which is in USA, and this was developed in 1972. Now let's move on to our first program and let's see how it is executed. This is the way you will write your first code, and this code is written in Turbo C++ software, which you can download from the internet. So it is a 8-line code which have to be first compiled to make it computer understandable. So let's compile. As you can see, there are no errors and it is showing success. Press any key. You must observe that the lines compiled is 462. I'll tell you about this later. Now run our code. Run. So the output is hello, let's learn C. So this 8-line codes give you a message on the output screen, that is hello, let's learn C. Now let's see its description. So this is your first program. It is a simple code. Now let's move on to its description. So when you will execute this message will be printed on the output screen. So let's see it's working. The first symbol here is hash. So hash is a preprocessor. Hash is a preprocessor, which means that it will execute the code before the execution of the compiler, and this hash executes this code executes these two lines before the execution of compiler. This is required because these two are the header files. Header files means these are certain files which needs to be included or linked with our code for using certain predefined function. This concept is same as when I ask you to collect some information, you refer to a particular book, and for that book you need to link to that particular library. Similarly, here I am using three functions, that is CLR, SCR, printf and getCS. You can identify that any word is a function by this symbol. In programming, this is called parenthesis. So any word with this parenthesis is a function. So here are three predefined functions. Predefined function, which means their working has been specified earlier, and one user-defined function, since it also contains parentheses. So for using these functions, I require their respective header files. And for getting those header files, a directory is required. So according to this code, my header files are stdio.h and conio.h. My functions are these three, and my directory is common for every file, that is include. So hash basically links this include directory and the header files with our code before the execution of compiler. Now coming to include, it is a directory or a library which contains certain header files which are required for our execution of code of certain predefined functions. And here stdio.h. stdio stands for standard input output. Which means it will contain certain functions which are required for input and output. Now conio.h. Conio stands for console input output. This output screen on which your output is been printed is known as the console screen, which means this header file contains the function which deal with the output screen. .h is the extension for header files. Now coming on to void main. So void main is a user-defined function, but yet a compulsory function, because the compiler has been instructed that you need to execute your code from void main. Which means if you will write 1000 lines before this void main, then also the compiler will start its execution from this line only. So void main is a user-defined function which is a compulsory function. Now coming to this void. When you will write this void in your Turbo C software, it will change to white color. That is because it is a keyword. Keyword are some reserved words which have some special meaning in any language. So void is a keyword as well as a return type. Now return type are certain words which specify the type of value which is going to be returned. Okay, for example, if I am writing asking you to pass me a bottle, it can be of any type, glass, plastic, metal. But if I specify that I need a plastic bottle, so here the word plastic is specifying you the type of material. Similarly, when I write void main, this void specifies that this function is going to return us null value. As you can see, this function does not return us any value. It simply executes the code and prints the message, which means it is returning us null value. So whenever a function is going to return you null value, you are going to use the keyword void for it. Now coming to CLR SCR. CLR SCR stands for clear screen. Now as the name suggests, it clears your last output screen, which means after every execution you are getting a single line output. That is because of this CLR SCR. When you run your code, it clears the last output screen and makes it blank and then prints the message. Which means if you want a clean output, then you must use CLR SCR for cleaning your previous output screen. And this, for using this function, you require conio.h because it is stored in this header file. Now coming to printer, it is a function which is very much required for printing any message on the output screen. Anything you will write under these double quotes will be printed on the output screen. So basically it is used to print any message on the output screen, and this function is contained in stdio.h. So for using this function you must include stdio.h. The last function, getch. Getch stands for get the character. This function holds the output screen until any key is pressed, which means, as you have observed, when we run our code, the screen will be displayed until I press any key. This is because of getch. Because getch holds the output screen until you press any key or enter any character. So that's the function of getch. So if you will not write this getch, the code will be executed, but you will not be able to see the output, as there is no function to hold the output screen. And for using this function, you require _. So in short, the execution of this code is as follows. The compiler starts from void main. It sees three functions, but these are predefined. So for accessing predefined function, you need their header files. And then the code will be printed, the screen will be cleared, and the screen will be held using getch. This is your first program. This code is the second program. This will explain you the working of printf more briefly. In this code, I am using two printf functions. One to print hello and the second one to print this is C. Now as I am going to compile it, after compilation there are no errors. I am going to run the code. As you can see, both the message has been printed in the same line, but I have used two printf. So this will be your thinking that if I will use two printf, then the output will be printed in a new line. That's not true. For getting a new line or breaking the line of the last message, you need to use a escape sequence, that is /n. And then after writing this, when you will run your code, then it will be printed in a new line. We will discuss about this later. So this code is similar to the previous code, just the difference is here I am using two printf to demonstrate you the working of escape sequences. So when you will use these two printf, if you will not write this /n, then the output will be hello, my first message, ... The second message, this is C. It will be printed in the same line as you have seen during the execution. So to break this line and print the new message in the next line, I need to use /n. So /n stands for new line, which is a escape sequence which helps me to break the line. So this is the working of /n. Similarly, /t will be used for a tab to print any message with a tab like hello, then tab this is C. So for this tab you need to use /t. So these are the two escape sequences. The rest of the code is similar. We are using clr to clear and getch to hold the screen. Just the new introduction is to /n. We are moving on to our next topic, that is variables. So basically variables are some empty space or empty memory locations which store value of any data type. In mathematics as well, if you don't know the value of certain variables, you just name them as x or y. Similarly, in programming, if we don't know the value of anything, then we will make it as a variable. The variable can store the value of any data type, like x can be equal to 10, x can be equal to 10.94, x equals to ABC, etc. Or x can be equal to even a single character, like not. So here are different types of values which x can store. So x will be a variable of any data type. Now we need to elaborate this term data type. As we saw before, that void is a return type, which means it specifies the type of value which the function is going to return. Similarly, data type are the some keywords which specify the type of value to be stored in a variable. So basically it specifies the type of value. Now in the first case, I am using x equal to 10. Here 10 is an integer. So for integer in C language, the keyword int is used. So int is a data type for storing integers. Then while using x equal to 10.94. For decimals, this is a decimal value. So for decimal, the keyword used is float. And similarly here I am using a character. X equal to naught. It is a character. So for this data type, char is used. These are the three basic data types. One for integers, decimals and other characters. So these three are the basic data types. In all there are 6 data types. We will discuss about them later. So these three are the basic data types which are used for any variable. So if I want to declare any value like 1100 in y, then y will be of integer type. That is int y equal to 100. This will be a way of declaration of any value. So here y is my variable, int is my data type, and this 1100 is my value. Whenever a variable is created like y, then it contains certain features. It has its name, the variable name, it has its data type, it has its value, and one more thing is prominent, that is its address. Every variable is created at a particular address in C language, which is very much required, and we will know its importance when we will be discussing about access specifiers. So in this code, I am going to do addition of two values. The variables used are here a and b. Both of these variables contain integers 10 and 20. So hence the data type is int. So int a, b, c are three variables. A and b have been initialized with the value 10 and 20. Now I am going to initialize the variable c with the sum of both of these variables. A plus b, that is 10 plus 20, will be assigned to the variable c. The answer will be 30 and the variable c will be get initialized with the value 30. Now in printf, again I have written a simple message, sum equal to. Now this symbol %d is called access specifier. This access specifier is used here for printing the variable's value, comma c. So here sum equal to %d and the value of this should be the value of c. So the answer sum equal to 30 has been printed. Let's see its execution in the code. So this is the code for addition of two values, same as described on the board. Now let's compile this code. So when we will compile, there are the descriptions, and then okay, so we are saving it with the extension .c. Before we were saving it with the extension .cpp. Now we are saving it with .c. So you have to write the clr after the declaration. These are the declaration for the variables. So you need to write the declaration. If you are saving it with .cpp, then there will be no error. Now when we will run this code, sum equal to 30 will be printed. Here I am using the access specifier %d. So access specifier does two functions. First is shows that this function have the access, or it can use the variable for printing its value, which means the specifier allows permission to the access of variables. And secondly, it also shows that which type of value is going to be printed. So integers use %d as their access specifier, float use %f, and characters use %c. So whenever you are going to print any variable's value, then you need to show this access specifier, which will demonstrate that you have the access to the variable's value and also the type of value which is going to be printed. These are the roles of the access specifiers. But in this code, I am giving the hard-coded values. This 10 and 20 are given by the user. If you want it to be user defined, which means when you will run the code, then the value should be entered, like in any simple calculator. In that case, we have to use scanf function. It will allow us to input values. Let's see this in the next program, but I have a task for you after seeing this video. Please try to do subtraction and multiplication of two values by yourself. If you have any doubt, just ask in the comment section. So in this code, I am using another function, that is scanf. It is also a predefined function and it is contained in stdio. So this code, when we will execute this code, it will print enter two values. So if I enter 4 and 6, the sum is going to be 10. So sum equal to 10 will be printed. What happened is it asked us to input two values. These two values get stored in the variables and both of them were added and then printed. So in this code, the variables are A, B and C. A and B are getting their inputs from the output screen. It has been added together and stored in C, and the sum is finally printed. So let's understand the working of scanf in this code. So scanf in this code actually accepts a access specifier as well as a new symbol, that is ampersand. And this ampersand is used for specifying the address of the code, and this address is then used for storing the values, which means that the value will be inputted from the user of the particular data type, that is integer, and then it will be stored on the address of A. Ampersand is used to specify that the variable is now accepting the address. So ampersand is linked with the address of variables. So whenever you need to input the values from the output screen, you need to use two things, that is scanf function, access specifiers, and along with access specifier, add ampersand symbol, that is this and, is compulsory. So you need to use this and for specifying that now you are going to store the address of the variable. As you saw the working of scanf, it is the last section of this video, the input-output functions. So to get input or print any value of any variable using C programming, we need two functions, that is printf and scanf. Printf is concerned with the output. As you have observed that we use printf for printing any message as well as the values of different variables. Scanf is concerned with the input. It inputs some value from the user and then stores it in the variable. So combinedly, these two functions are the input-output function used in C. The syntax, which means the way of writing anything in C of scanf, is use the word scanf, opening, double quotes, then add the access specifiers. It can be %d. Now if you are using two variables, then write both the access specifiers together. No space or comma is included here. Just write them together without any space in there. Then give a comma. Ampersand is again very necessary to show that the address of the variable 1, comma, ampersand, the variable 2. Please do not interchange the sequence because this value will be linked to this variable and this value will be linked to this variable. So don't interchange the sequence. And if these are of different types, like this is integer and this is float, then also it will take the input. Just change the access specifier and make it %f. Now, as I told you earlier that whenever a variable is created, it gets certain things like the data type, the value, the address, and the variable name. To access the value, we require the access specifiers, which means whenever you are printing any value, you need to use the access specifiers, and while inputting, both value and address is used. Hence, access specifier and ampersand, both of them should be used. The ampersand is linked with address and the access specifier is concerned with the value. So, as we saw there that the code adds to value, you can similarly execute a code for subtraction, multiplication, division, or another new concept that is remainder, which we shall discuss in the next video. For subtraction or any other, just repeat all this code and just change the symbol and the operations here. If you do this, then it will be showing the answer for the subtraction process. Similarly, division or any other operation can be performed. So here you just write the message like answer equal to, and then run the code. Again, using scanf, you are entering two values and the answer is printed. In the next video, we shall be discussing about how to use the math functions in C programming and some looping statements and the conditional statements. Thank you for watching the video, and if you can understand my explanation, please like it.